I would like to welcome Justine Burt to the KWMR airwaves.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
My pleasure.
You are doing a presentation on April 29th from 4 to 5:30 p.m., and that is happening with the Environmental Forum of Marin, and it's all about jobs. We just spoke with Ellen Moskowitz from Legal Aid of Marin about some work issues, and you're going to be talking sort of more about what's happening going into the future.
So, building on a book I wrote 2 years ago, The Great Pivot, Creating Meaningful Work to Build a Sustainable Future, I just think there's such an opportunity to create millions of new green jobs. And when I wrote the book, I was worried about automation and outsourcing in the gig economy, and then COVID happened. And Biden coming into office, he inherited not just 10 million people officially unemployed. There's really 26 million people if you look at people who are working part-time, who would rather do full-time, people who've given up looking, or people who had a few interviews last year and nothing really came through. There are 26 million people we could be putting to work building the sustainable future we need addressing climate change.
And this Jobs Act that they're pushing through the political process is a huge opportunity because of not only the opportunity for infrastructure, both new and fixing things that are broken, of which there are many, but it's just so many things are sort of falling apart.
There's all this legislation there's all this work going on at the federal level, planning amazing things, $2.25 trillion of infrastructure to modernize and upgrade our buildings, to modernize our transportation system. And Biden really wants a lot of this funding to go to frontline communities, the people who rent and can only afford an apartment right next to an oil refinery or highways or airports or landfills or agricultural fields. He wants to clean that up. And some people cast this as a lot of spending, but you know what? That money's going to go into people's bank accounts, and then they're going to spend it in their local communities. So we want good-paying jobs with benefits for people to help us transition to a more sustainable future of clean energy, clean transportation, a circular economy. We're throwing away 40% of all the food we raise and grow when 1 out of 4 Californians are food insecure. So there's really no excuse to keep throwing out food when people need food. There's also a lot of work to be done restoring wildlife populations, restoring healthy forests. It's just now's the time. It's all hands on deck. And
also with the whole climate change thing going on, there's work around that as well.
Exactly. And there's work to be done at the federal level, and there's funding coming down to the local level, but the work really needs to happen in the cities and counties. And so there's a lot cities and counties can do: declare a climate emergency, put an ordinance in place for building deconstruction, create solar microgrids. Every police station, fire station, hospital, K through 12 school should be a solar microgrid with solar photovoltaics, energy storage, electric vehicle charging, and then the intelligence, the monitoring, communications, and control, so that when there's a wildfire, when the utility has to turn off the power, they can still cut off from the grid and still function and serve the community. There's a lot of work to be done.
There is a lot of work to be done. So who is this presentation geared towards?
Well, we already have about 100 people signed up, people who are looking for green jobs, people who are right out of college or even mid-career. A lot of people have been working on a career for 20 years and have been thinking, it's not really giving me meaning and purpose. I really want to do purpose-driven work, and how do I get into environmental work? So it's for people who are trying to figure that out. We've got all kinds of amazing speakers from Marin Clean Energy, Venture Pads, Strategic Energy Innovations. It's really going to be a fountain of information for people who are curious about how they can make that transition.
That is just so important and so timely. It's also going to be followed by a lunchtime discussion on Friday, April 30th from noon to 1. And this is a ticketed event, and the second event will be included in the ticket price. Can you talk a little bit about what will happen then?
It's more a Q&A, so people who attended the Thursday, April 29th, 4 to 5:30 talk, we're going to have a little Q&A, but it's to continue that discussion so we can even delve deeper. And there will be a few additional people on hand to answer questions from the Conservation Corps and some other groups. So if you're interested in this topic, please do join us for both if you can.
That sounds interesting. So can you go back a little bit and talk about what your major concerns were prior to COVID in the book that you wrote about pivoting, which is a pre-pivot pivot?
Well, I teach a class through UC Berkeley Extension, Managing Sustainable Change in an Organization. It's basically how to be a sustainability manager. And I've taught it 20 times, and it's so much fun. It's 15 hours. And at the end of each of these 5 3-hour sessions, several students come up to me and say, I'm really excited to do this kind of work. Where can I get a job doing this? And I think there aren't that many jobs. Like when a recycling position comes up in Alameda County to help their 10,000 employees recycle better, 399 people apply for it. 400 people apply for it, and 399 don't get it. So there's all these people who want to be doing this meaningful work. At the same time, I interviewed Jigar Shah, who's a project finance person who's actually now at the Department of Energy overseeing their $40 billion loan program. But he said, Justine, we've raised $1 trillion for climate solutions, and we've only been able to deploy $300 billion of it. If there were more requests for proposals, if there were more shovel-ready projects, we could invest. So there's all this money washing around looking for places to invest. There are all these people who want to do
So
this
that's
meaningful
beyond
work.
even the money that would come from the federal government to do these projects. So this is private money that could be leveraged with this federal money to really get some stuff done.
Exactly. So what I was worrying about 2-3 years ago was that we've been outsourcing millions of jobs to other countries. We're automating. 4.2 million people drive for a living, and you know what's happening with vehicles. I mean, we've got self-driving cars, we've got self-driving buses, we've got self-driving tractor-trailers even that Tesla's rolling out. And so what are these 4.2 million people going to do for a living? Meanwhile, there's all this work that needs to be done. So I was trying to connect dots there on top of all the gig economy, people who are working 8 hours a week here, 8 hours a week there with no benefits, who would really like full-time with benefits, and thinking the world of work is in crisis. And then COVID happened, and tens of millions of people were thrown out of work just to try to stay safe from the pandemic. And now we've got this wreckage of an economy, and we're trying to build back better. We're trying to figure out what kind of future of work do we want? What kinds of work should people be doing that would give them a sense of meaning and purpose so they want to get up in the morning and go to work, not drag themselves out of bed to go to a job they don't like.
Right. And it sounds like a huge variety of different things that people can choose to participate in and apply for.
Right. We need more than just engineers. We need graphic designers. We need salespeople. We need marketing people. We need videographers. There's all kinds of work for all kinds of talents. We just need to invest. Our country hasn't been investing that much in itself over the last 40 years, but now COVID broke so many systems that we get a chance to take another look at our energy, on top of the wildfires that every fall are terrifying. We have an opportunity to look at all of our systems and figure out how do we want it to function, how do we want it to serve people.
Really interesting stuff. And so what are you working on now?
One of my projects, I'm focusing on solar microgrids. I think every community should have the police, fire, K-12 hospitals, and we just need requests for proposals out there so all these wonderful talented companies can respond to them because we need clean energy and we need local energy and so working on getting solar microgrids up and running. You
might know one of our programmers, Peter Asmus, who's been covering microgrids quite a bit on his program. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. Well, if you don't know him, I would love to introduce you to him because he is working hard on that and is going to be covering that topic on some of his programs coming up.
Great.
Yeah,
Marin's leading the way, definitely.
So cool. Well, I just want to thank you, Justine Burt, for joining me and to remind folks that if you go to the Environmental Forum of Marin's website, you can sign up for this. They have many events that they put on that are all about this and different programs and ways that people can become more educated on these topics.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us on KWMR. Take care.